Hello, this is Dr. Denise Zeynep Lowenberger.
And I'm Christopher McMillan.
We're here to introduce to you BSU strategic planning process. President Clark has asked us to engage in two different dimensions of strategic planning, which really expand our opportunity to create an effective planning process. And it's also going to make our process unique compared to other institutions across higher education. The first of those is the level of inclusion that he's asking for in the process. And so what you'll find in our process is a nested design, which I'm going to describe to you. It means that we will have planning processes that are undertaken in different units across the organization that nest into each other. Additionally, the process that we've undertaken looks at a long-range planning process that will be ongoing. And so unlike other strategic plans, which are written and then they sort of sit on a shelf for a long time, we will always be doing strategic planning at Bridgewater State University, and we will always be collecting data, looking at outcomes, and improving our decision-making process. So in the term that President Clark is in office as our president, he has asked that we are always in this active strategic planning process.
So, what are the levels of institutional planning?
At Bridgewater State University, we're looking at three different major levels. The first is the institutional strategy, and that really is the plan that's for the entire university to undertake. And it has two parts. It has the goals and objectives, which are our guiding principles that move us forward with decision making. And then there's an implementation plan. The implementation plan is much more detailed, and it really makes sure that all of the resources and timelines are directly tied into the plan. So that's the implementation is our way of achieving it. So it tells us how we're going to achieve the institutional strategy. We also have operational plans, and these are plans at the divisional and college level. And then we also have tactical integration, which again is a unique process in higher education that we're trying to pursue. What that means is that all of our policies and procedures will eventually be rewritten in light of the strategic plan, and they will be reviewed on a regular cycle as well to make sure that they're actually informing and improving our strategic planning process and overall outcomes at our institution.
And why do we use a nested model versus other models of strategic planning?
The reason that we're using a nested model at Bridgewater State University is tied to this commitment to inclusion. Each division, each unit across campus, every department will eventually have its own strategic plan. And what that does is that we can take a goal that might be at the institutional level. For instance, it might be tied to student success, which was a very prominent theme across the listening tours that we held on campus. And it can write its own goals tied to the student's success. And that might look very different in one division versus another. And so what you're really doing is you're customizing at every unit how you're going to use those goals and define them so that you can really truly achieve them all across the campus. All the data that also allows us to bring forward, what we end up learning about is, can we achieve those goals at those micro levels, and do we also have enough resources to make those goals happen? And so that's why we're investing in a nested design, again, unique to our institution.
And can you talk a little bit about what the Board of Higher Education's role is in BSU's strategic planning process?
So there's two important pieces to talk about in terms of the Board of Higher Ed. First is the concept of the mandate created by the Board of Higher Education. By June of 2017, we've been asked to create an institutional level strategic plan by the Board of Higher Education. In December of 2016, they established guidelines that we're to follow. And so that's really important for us because all state universities, and actually community colleges as well, will be creating strategic plans to guide their decision-making process, and it will be made public. It will be shared with the Board of Higher Ed and go through their approval process as well. The second piece that's really important is that they have certain areas that they're really asking us to focus on in our strategic planning process. All of these are integrated into our decision making. The first of those is workforce alignment, and we're also looking at preparing citizens for future leadership. Closing achievement gaps is a very, very important one. Really looking at, are our students graduating and performing at the same levels across all demographics at our institution? And that's really tied to our student success goal. Student learning, which has a lot to do with our academic success goals. College completion, again, which has to do with graduation as well. And then finally, college participation, which looks at making sure that youth across southeastern Massachusetts are actually able to enter into college and have that opportunity and to graduate successfully and enter into our communities as successful citizens, both in the workforce and as volunteers and community members. And so those are the 6 areas that our Board of Higher Ed has mandated us to include.
And Dr. Leuenberger, how long will the planning process take?
We have different nested deadlines that we need to pay attention to, so I'm going to share these, and some of these are more ambitious than others. We know for sure that we have the mandate that the institutional level plan needs to be completed by June of 2017, so that's a hard stop on a target goal that we need to meet. We also have divisional level plans. Most of those will be, at least in some form, completed by summer of 2017. Some of the divisions, for instance, academic affairs, which have a much larger set of individuals to work with, a lot larger number of stakeholders, may actually take a little bit longer and go into the fall of 2017. And then we have all of the next following year to do departmental and program level plans. And so, as you can see, these all nest into each other, and then the cycle will start over again. So we will have a year where we're actually working on the goals, but every 3 years we'll be starting all over again with the institutional level plan again as well. So in the next 10 years, we'll have completed 3 cycles of the strategic planning process. The next set of slides also share some of the more detailed institutional goals and objectives tied to the timeline as well. Thank you again for your time, and we look forward to working with you on the strategic planning process.